this is Lady Lex UK and this is a Dreams tutorial. Today I'm going to be looking at text animations. Right, these are the sort of animations that you might use for a title sequence of a game. And I'm going to start off concentrating on the display layer, which is where the text is on your screen, in front of your scene. It's not part of your scene, as if it was on the glass of your monitor. And then we're going to have a look at things that you could do with it if you make it physical in your scene. So let's start off. We'll get our menu up. Right, we're going to pop a timeline down. And that's where we're going to do all our animation in this lovely timeline. If I open that up, it has a default of about 8 seconds. Now that's pretty much all I want for this demonstration, but if you wanted a longer time, you can make this timeline much bigger by just hovering over the end until you get these arrows up, hold down the cross button and slide it backwards and forwards to get it shorter or longer as you want. But I'm happy with 8 seconds. I'm going to leave it as that. Right, let's grab a text display gadget. There it is. Right, now you can see normally when you see a text display gadget, if I was going to plonk that down in the world now, it's this big square, and if I was to put it in a microchip, it's a big square like this. But if you drag it into a timeline, it looks like this. And if you've done any music in Dreams, you'll recognise this immediately. It's like a musical block. And you lay this exactly as you do with a music block. You just lay it into the timeline, and the timeline is divided up handily into seconds. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this down. So this is going to start to display after 1 second of this timeline running. And I'm going to elongate this by selecting the end and pressing R2 and then dragging it across. I'm going to give it, I think, should we give it 5 seconds? We'll give it 5 seconds. So it's going to be on the screen for 5 seconds and then it will come off. Right, let's put some text in. First page, you get to enter your text. We'll put in our game title. Let's be literal. Game title. There we go. And we can change the text color. Now, you probably found this out by yourself, but if you move the dial round like this without selecting, if it's in one of those corners and you try and move this around, nothing is going to happen. So you need to move it first before you can get a color going. So move it first, then you can get a color going. This is very purple. We've got something a bit more blue. That'll do. Right, let's have a look at the font options. That'll do. That looks fine. That's nice and bold. I'll have that in there as my game title. Right, so I've chosen my colour. I've chosen my font. We leave text opacity and brightness alone. And we'll go on to the text box. I don't want a text box. I'm just going to click that off. So that's gone. And then I'll go to the border. I don't want one of those either. So I'm going to take that away and that's gone too. So that's that. Let me just get this over here. Now I'm going to grab the gizmo of my text, holding down R2, the trigger, R2 trigger, and now I can move it anywhere I like around the screen. Well, I want it somewhere in the middle. Now, if you want to make sure it's exactly in the middle, you can click on this page here and click on center and middle, and that will place this text box exactly in the center of the screen. I'm now going to make this bigger by holding R2 and then pushing up on the D-pad. There we go. That's the size I want it. So we've got it in the middle. It's blue. It's this is the correct size. I'm going to have it in a timeline, so it's going to display for 5 seconds. This is the good thing about the timeline, is you don't have to worry about clicking on start text or the power of this. It will play as soon as that playhead hits it. So let's see that in action. There we go. There's our game title. It's come up. It's going to stay up for 5 seconds. And then it's gone. But it's not very interesting and it's not really animated. So I'm just going to click those off. Put that back there. Right. We're going to do some animation now. So I'm going to put in a keyframe. And I'm going to pop it at the beginning there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the opacity of this text. And I'm going to make that 0 and then press record. I'm then going to go into our text displayer here and I'm going to make that 0 too. So that's 0 and that's 0. And then I'm going to put another keyframe in somewhere in the middle and I'm going to make that text display 100 and press record. Then I'm going to copy the first keyframe. I think you can see what I'm doing here. If you L1 and square over the gap, L1 and square, you can change the blend type. And this is a nice linear blend type, so it's going to go from 0 to 100 slowly across the seconds. And because we want this text to be the text in the middle here to be our display, I'm going to make that fill that second in the middle there. So it's going to gradually get darker and darker and darker and then gradually fade off again. So it's going to fade in and fade off. Let's have a look. Oh, hang on. I forgot to rewind it. Let's rewind it. There we go. There's our game title. And there's it fading off again. Right. Must remember always before you play your title sequence to make sure the playhead has got back to the beginning. Otherwise you're not going to see anything. Right. Okay. Well, that was sort of interesting. It sort of faded in and out. That wasn't bad. But what about movement? What about have it fly in or something like that? Well, the good thing about keyframes is you don't have to have just one thing. You can have multiple things going on in your keyframes, and you can also edit them so you can add to them. So let's go for our first keyframe. So I'm going to press L1 and X, like so. And I'm going to grab this and I'm going to stick it up in that corner and then press record. And then I'm going to do the same with the middle one. I'm going to get that where I want it in the middle, right about there. That's fine. Press record. And then our last keyframe, I'm going to move it right down here in the corner and press record. And now let's see what we got. They're still fading in and out, but now they fly in from the left and fly out to the right. And you can do all sorts of animations and movements for that. So you can have it moving wherever you like, and you can put as many keyframes as you like and just have it going, bouncing all around the screen if you want. Now there's another way of animating your text box. Simply, let's put the text opacity back up so we can see it. So here's our game title now. So I'm going to move it over here, out of the way. And now I'm going to use the action recorder. Plonk that down. Right. As soon as I grab this, the action recorder is going to start. So we go. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Record. And now you'll notice this is it's a lot longer than our previous timeline. It's elongated the timeline to fit the action recorder. So now we've got to stretch this text box across to match. Otherwise, it's not going to display. It's going to stop showing that text box around about here. Even though it's animated, it won't show it anymore. Right, let's have a look and see what that looks like. Oh, I've done it again. I forgot to rewind. There we go. There we go. There was our game title, and you can animate and do whatever you want. Move it around as much as you like, and you can combine that with all sorts of effects and changes. So the timeline, it's really up to your imagination what you do, because you can also change. Let me see. There we go. Here's our text. That's I don't want it quite as long as that. Let's move it back to that sort of size. Right, now we've got to find it where it's over here. So where is it? The beginning of our timeline, it was over here, wasn't it? There we go. Right, let's drag it, put it in the middle. Right. I'm going to shrink this down. There we go. Right, so I'm going to stick a keyframe in. Okay, I'm going to grab that, shrink that slightly down. There it goes. Press record. Take another keyframe. I'm going to grab it, and I'm going to make it big. Like that. Okay, rewind it. Select the middle, L1 and square. Linear, or you can do easing, but I think linear is probably what we want. Right, let's try that. Did we rewind it? We did. Ta-da! We go. Now you'll notice at the end of that, it tried to go back down to the size it was before. So make sure that your timeline and everything stops at the same point, or this text display stops before it gets to the end, and then you won't get that. And I didn't rewind it. When you get your text won't try to blink out and go back to the beginning. It'll just turn off like that. Right. So you just got to make sure you're not overrunning one or the other. So otherwise, once it gets to the end of this, it will just revert back to your normal settings. There we go. So that's size, movement, opacity, all of that you can change. So let's create a ticker tape now. This is something that you might be interested in. In fact, let's start a brand new timeline and go again. So, right, timeline. In we go. We're going to put in a text displayer. I think 8 seconds is probably fine. Ticker tape display. Alright, we're going to make our text white, and I'm going to make our text box black, and I'm going to change the curviness to a square, and I'm going to remove the drop shadow and the border. I don't want any of that. Right, this is going to be displayed. This is going to be displayed on top. So I want this sort order to be slightly higher. So I'm going to make that sort order a 2. Like so. Okay, and I'm going to elongate this box at the side, so we gives this some sort of handle that we can grab, and I'm going to put it there to start with. So put in our keyframe. So we'll grab that and about there, and record, and then our second keyframe. going to grab that, move that over here, press record, and then we get our linear thing. So if I just test that quickly by just pressing down on R3, just to test this, test the speed of this. If you're not happy with the speed of that, then you can elongate this timeline, make it longer, then it will move across slower, or you can change the timeline speed, but that's okay. I think that's fine. I'm happy with that. Now we're going to pop down another text gadget, and this is just going to display a text box. Now, if you're using it as a background text box, you do need to put something in there. So we're going to put a couple of spaces in. If you don't put anything in this text box, it won't display. So you must put some text in there. We're going to make, we can turn auto fit off so we can make it the size that we want. I'm just going to shrink this down a bit. And then I'm going to stretch it right across the screen. Okay, and then we're going to check that this is a 1, so that should be at the back. Now let's try. I didn't rewind it. Right, now we can see that that's a little, we need it a little thicker. Just a little thicker. Now we've got it over, there we go. That's about right. Rewind, press play. There we go. So now we've got a ticker tape display. Now, but it will only get to this side and then stop. So we just go into the timeline. So that's L1 and square, and we loop it. Simple as that. And again, I didn't rewind it. Even though it's on a loop, it won't start. There we go. Ticker tape display. Goes to the end and then starts again. So this is really handy if you've got some sort of news scene or something, or you want to display some messages along the bottom. Let's say you've got a piece of music, you want to display information about it, a bit like MTV or something like that. You want to just do some scrolling information down the bottom about the piece of music or the artist or the whatever. There you go, there's your option. There's your ticker tape display. Right, now then, what else should we do with our ticker tape display? Now that I've got it, let's use it. We'll just delete that. We'll use this now to we'll get rid of our keyframes. We're going to use this now. If you wanted to get this to rotate as part of an animation, you may find that you got the option. It says L2 rotate, and if you try to rotate it, nothing happens. You can't move this. You can only move it up and down, and left and right. You can't rotate. So what you do, in order to get it to rotate, is this one. Is you click on Allow Rotation on this page. Right, let's get this out of the way. Right, we'll hold on to that. Now, when I do L2, it'll spin. So, like with the action recorder, for example, go. I think that'll do. There's some spinning. So I've got it spinning, and now I think I will put in a keyframe. And we'll select that. I'll make this a little bigger. about that, and press record. And then I'm going to put another keyframe in at the end of this. There. And we're going to grab that and we're just going to make it big. Whoops. There we go. Rewind that. Let's see what that looks like. Now, did you notice anything interesting about that? As you're turning this tape, the text is still trying to display upright, so it is moving. See that? Now that might be an effect you like, but not ideal. There is other ways of doing it. You might consider actually physically rotating it. So we'll just get rid of that timeline. We'll keep the ticker tape display. Let's just stick that vertical for once. Right, okay, so we're going to put a sculpt in. We'll put a block in. And I'm going to put a rotator in it. Okay, so we want this thing to spin like that, I think. Is that about right? Just yeah, that's pretty much what we want. And we're going to snap that there. Okay. And now we're going to change this to be in scene. And now you'll see it's spinning with the block. Obviously we can see the block, so we will just go into its properties and turn the visibility off. And now you have some spinning text attached to an object. And you can see around the back of it, and it's not trying to change its text to display the right way up all the time. And you can have that spinning and turning and doing whatever you want to. Right, so I've gone into my hidden object game here. If I just show you, this is the starter menu. You notice there is no title in there of a title of the game. So we can put that in now. We're going to use a text gadget. And all I can see right now is we'll just plonk it there. Right, so do not crash on me. Right. Cap. Tin. Cabin. Alright. There's Captain's cabin. I'm going to change the font to something. I like that one. I'm going to make it white. I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm going to make it in scene. And I'm struggling to see over all of these things. So let's close them off so I can actually see. Right, there we go. Right then, now we have it in the scene. It's going to be affected by things in the scene. So you've got to be careful where you place it. But there we go. I can stick that, or I can stick it on the table. And I can have objects coming out in front of it like that. There we are. So you can see it's in the scene. I'd have to move these things over and what have you. But yeah, that's how you can put text in the scene, so it's a little bit more interesting to put things in front of it. Make it like a 3D object. I recommend you put in allow rotation, and that gives you options to do things like this. So you can move it around like that. There we go. So have it in the scene. Lots of movies use this technique these days, to have an object in the world, to have the text as an object in the world, so it's sort of in the background there. I can move this around, embed it in the carpet, put it behind these chair legs. There we are. You can see how that might work. There we go. So there you go. I hope that was useful for you. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in your dreams.